Earlier this year, we talked to Melanie Trevethick about her battle over the inequity of funding for disability.
We've been back to the Waikato to talk to Melanie, this time about a personal crisis.
I know of people that have sat up in their wheelchairs all night. One gentleman I heard of sat up for 3 nights until the agency found somebody to come and get him into bed. Now that is not acceptable.
It's an old saying, good help is hard to find. Melanie Trevethick doesn't like asking for help. It's not in her nature. The reality is she needs help. The problem, she can't find it.
This is where I need help, in the bathroom. Without a caregiver, I can't go to the toilet and I can't get on the shower chair to have a shower. I also can't get out of bed in the morning and I can't get into bed at night.
She's being left in the lurch because there aren't enough care workers.
9 or 10 times caregivers haven't arrived when they're supposed to. It can be quite awkward if I'm not somebody that's at home all day long. If I have a meeting in Hamilton at 2 o'clock and I have an expected caregiver come at midday and they don't arrive, of course I can't go to the toilet, and that makes life very difficult. There's only so long you can wait.
Earlier this year, Attitude profiled Melanie and her battle over the inequity of funding for New Zealanders with a disability. She was making a bid to ensure those on Ministry of Health funding were on an equal footing with those funded by ACC. Melanie has multiple sclerosis, so she's an MOH client. Her condition is deteriorating. She finds it increasingly difficult to manage daily tasks for herself and her daughter, who has special needs.
Come on, Eve, time to wake up. Would you like a hot drink?
2 years ago, Melanie sold her house and moved into a residential village where she'd receive more support. But village management can't get enough staff. So for the past month, a local agency has provided care workers.
Hi Karen, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Fine, thanks. Hey, before we get started, could you possibly fold a few towels I've got on top of the washing machine?
Yep.
Thanks a lot.
Caregivers attend to Melanie over 3 short visits a day to get her up, take her to the toilet and back to bed at night. A total of 28 hours of personal care a week, plus 2 hours housekeeping. But apart from that, she's on her own.
The agency have been very good. The workers they have are fabulous. You know, the people themselves are wonderful, but the agency struggles to get enough of them. And so I feel for everybody, and I feel particularly for myself when, you know, obviously when somebody doesn't turn up. But you know, it's a difficult problem, and unless caregivers start to get some real incentives to take on this job, it's not likely to happen.
The rate paid is part of the problem, and there's a link to Melanie's original court battle.
Well, if you're covered by ACC, having had an accident, you're entitled to full-time care. If necessary, you can have somebody 24 hours a day. Now, that is wonderful, but it doesn't apply for people who have an illness, and the maximum is approximately 28 hours personal care per week, which for some people isn't enough. There should not be this disparity between what you can receive under ACC and what you can receive under Ministry of Health. It's philosophically unjustifiable, and as I've said before, I believe morally very wrong.
Melanie's 83-year-old mother, Maureen, lives in the same residential village.
Hello, come in. Want some tea?
Yes, I had some afternoon.
Oh, you've had it already?
Yes, a little bit.
Oh, do you want some more?
Oh, yes, I think I always have.
Okay, I'll put the jug on.
But because she's elderly, she's funded differently, and there's no problem with how her care is allocated.
I've been looking to see if there's any jobs for people wanting care, you know, wanting to be caregivers.
Yeah.
But there's lots of ads from agencies trying to get caregivers, but I don't know how much luck they have.
You haven't. I hope you're covered for that. Yeah. I've had many a sleepless night worrying about you.
Oh, you don't need to do that.
Well, it is a worry, wondering whether you can get up in the morning. You can't do anything about it, though.
Not really, no. Not until they get paid a bit more, I think.
That's a sentiment echoed by the Service and Food Workers Union, which represents large numbers of care workers.
You know, they're very poorly paid, and not only are they poorly paid, you know, it's very low and it's been that way for some years. And I think in terms of the conditions, you know, as a result of that, there's low, you know, pay equity across the board as well. The training and qualifications are not recognised as well as they could be. We have long-serving staff, yes, but very high turnover.
The union admits it's a long road, but points to some success in improving pay and conditions.
When you're looking at comparisons and between those that are unionised sites, and we have a collective of workers, care workers that are working in this disability field, yeah, you are looking on average between a difference between probably $1.50 to $2 in rates for those sites that, you know, uniquely have a collective agreement.
A new government initiative called Manawanui in Charge helps disabled people to manage their own support. It's already operating successfully in Taranaki and Wanganui. Disability advocate Barry de Geest is following its development.
There's a whole lot of issues that you'll be taking on if you went the individual funding route. First of all, you're totally responsible for your employees, so you need to be aware of all the government regulations. I know that Manawanui in Charge do give you a booklet of what you have to do and what you can't do, but it doesn't cover off things like if you have an employee dispute, and insurance, if public liability, if your employee does any damage to your house or to you, or if you're out with your caregiver, if they do any damage, you're liable for things like that. So there's a whole raft of things that you need to be aware of.
Midday, and Karen returns to help Melanie with her personal cares.
Would you like me to get the hoist now?
Yes, please. Well, I feel rather vulnerable, to be honest. I know of people, the youngest is now 27, who are living in rest homes because they can't find caregivers to come to them in the community. Now that is indescribably appalling. You know, to have to live in a rest home when you're 27 because there's no one to get you in and out of bed at home. I mean, what sort of society have we got? You know, it's as simple as making caregiving a valuable occupation, as it is, but, you know, until people are remunerated appropriately, they're just not going to be there. The carers aren't going to want to be there.